Did you kill JonBenét?
No, no. I wish I could have given my life for her.
It's been 28 years since the murder of child beauty queen JonBenét Ramsey.
She was a spark of energy.
The 6-year-old girl found dead in the basement of her Boulder home the day after Christmas in 1996. The case still unsolved.
This chapter needs to be closed.
Now back in the national spotlight with new tools that could help catch the killer.
It's complicated stuff, but it's incredibly powerful.
Glad to have you with us for Denver 7 News at 10 this Saturday night. I'm Shannon Ogden.
And I'm Jessica Porter. A recently released documentary is bringing JonBenét's story back into the spotlight, along with a potential solution to solve the decades-long mystery.
So Denver 7's Amy Wada sat down with JonBenét Ramsey's father, John Ramsey, at his home for an exclusive interview as he now plans to meet with the Boulder's police chief, the new chief there. Ramsey says he plans to discuss a new technology which could identify the killer if the right amount of DNA still exists.
Another Christmas come and gone for 81-year-old John Ramsey without knowing who killed his daughter JonBenét Ramsey.
In my mind, she's still my 6-year-old little girl.
A 6-year-old girl with a vibrant personality.
She was a spark of energy. She was very extroverted, loved to perform and have little plays, skits and stuff they'd put on. And I was worried, she's going to grow up and run off to Hollywood. That's not going to be good.
But the little girl never got the chance to grow up. JonBenét was reported missing from her Boulder home the morning of December 26, 1996. JonBenét's mother, Patsy Ramsey, said she discovered a ransom note demanding $118,000 in exchange for JonBenét's safe return.
It truly is a tragedy.
John found his daughter's body in the basement several hours after they called 911. The little girl was sexually assaulted and brutally murdered. Boulder police arrived and began investigating.
Had a number of leads that we worked on yesterday.
However, they did not properly secure the scene and didn't accept help from outside agencies at the time. Eventually, John, Patsy, and JonBenét's 9-year-old brother Burke became suspects.
Their objective was to charge Patsy and I. That day one, that was the answer.
Did you kill JonBenét?
No, no. I wish I could have given my life for her. Their whole case against Patsy and I was that we didn't act right that morning. They used the media, fed them false information to bring pressure on us. The media did that very well.
Retired Colorado Springs police detective Lou Smith was eventually asked by the Boulder County District Attorney to work the case as a special investigator, but later resigned after he was convinced the Ramseys were not involved.
He said, this is a DNA case. This will be solved by DNA. I think absolutely that's correct today, given that it's been 28 years with no really credible lead.
In 2008, 2 years after Patsy died from ovarian cancer, the Ramseys were cleared after the Boulder County District Attorney at the time said DNA in the case had a genetic profile belonging to an unidentified male and did not belong to anyone in the family.
Yeah.
Now, 28 years later, John is still fighting, trying to find JonBenét's killer. He is asking Boulder police to test and retest several items found at the scene that day.
All we know, and we may be wrong, but this is all we know factually. There was a number of items taken from the crime scene, sent to a DNA lab for testing, sampling for possible DNA. A number of those items were returned untested. The garrote, the suitcase that we found set up under a window that looked to me like a step to get out of the upper basement window. I think it can be solved if we take advantage of the latest technology that's out there now. The thing baffling to me is, why wouldn't you do this?
John is talking about investigative genetic genealogy, something he wants Boulder police to use as well. It's a technology that emerged in 2018 when the Golden State Killer was arrested.
That's when we started using investigative genetic genealogy widely on these types of violent crimes. So now we can use second, third, fourth, fifth cousins to reverse engineer the identity of this individual. So it just wasn't something that was available to the investigators on JonBenét's case until 2018.
Cece Moore is the chief genetic genealogist at Parabon Nanolab. While she isn't involved in JonBenét's case, she says people are always emailing her about it. She's also provided expert insight on the case many times.
I'm confident that if they had viable DNA evidence for investigative genetic genealogy, they are either already doing that analysis with someone else or they will be. I mean, I just don't believe that the Boulder police wouldn't like to get this solved because they get so much pressure from the public.
Moore says there's a lot of factors that come into play when it comes to using this technique on really old cases.
That means we have to go back to the original DNA sample or biological evidence and reanalyze that from scratch. And so if they don't have any DNA left, or if I've heard they have a very small amount, then there is a risk of sending that to an outside lab and having that be consumed and not coming up with an answer.
In a statement posted on X at the end of November, Boulder police said in part, quote, "The assertion that there is viable evidence and leads we are not pursuing to include DNA testing is completely false."
Do you agree with what he said there?
Well, that's different than what he told me personally. The last time he commented on that to me personally, which was probably 2 months ago maybe, we don't think DNA technology is there yet to be used, which I absolutely disagree with.
Do you think it's best to go ahead and say test now if they haven't yet?
Now is probably the time to move forward, but they have to be very, very careful where they send that remaining DNA sample, and they need to look closely at the experience of the lab and the team that they send it to. They do have the sample of the killer. I am very confident that he will eventually be identified.
John says he and Boulder's new police chief, Stephen Redfern, are planning to meet after the new year.
Wildly encouraged by the fact he's new, he came from the outside, he's not tainted by the culture that was there before.
Do you think 2025 will be the year that this case gets solved?
I sort of do. The Boulder police appear to be working with the FBI now, which they will do the DNA testing and use the genealogy research tool. I think there's better than a 50-50 chance we can identify the killer. I really do.
A year ago, the Colorado Cold Case Review Team completed a year-long analysis of the case. The team digitized all evidence and created a searchable database with tips, interviews, and nearly 2,500 pieces of evidence. Police say the recommendations won't be made public to preserve the integrity of the investigation.
I offered to meet with the Cold Case Review Board if they wanted me to meet with them, but they didn't think that was necessary, I guess.
John says he won't stop the fight until he knows investigators have tried everything they can to find the person responsible, so his forever 6-year-old little girl can get the justice she deserves. All that's left are reminders in John and his now wife Jan's home, a shrine with JonBenét's cowgirl boots and tap shoes, and a framed piece of paper JonBenét colored on from a local restaurant hanging on a bedroom wall in the Ramsey home.
We knew she was going to be special.
This was JonBenét's. She got the Christmas morning, yeah.
They named this little cat Sister Socks.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they do it, and we come up empty-handed, then I'm going to say, thank you for trying.
Amy Wattis, Denver 7.
Boulder police confirmed with Denver 7 they plan to meet with the Ramsey family in 2025, but a date hasn't been set yet. A police spokesperson says they're unable to give any interviews or comment on specifics due to it being an open and ongoing investigation.